A few weeks before she died, Imat Cecilia Ogwal posed this question.
Where did we inherit this culture of violence, killing each other, killing your brother, to take over power? Where did we get it?
And at the same time, answered it.
The brutality that they use to take over Africa, to balkanize Africa, is what probably has made us to copy.
This kind of violence is said to have been inherited by some African brothers, unfortunately killing themselves.
It's a sad thing. It is now recognized that Sudan has been the country that experienced the greatest displacement of persons and generated the largest number of refugees, and yet the African Union is eloquent in its silence.
Addressing such disagreements will require a spirit of African brotherhood, hence the visa waivers.
An African can get on a plane to Rwanda whenever they wish, and will not pay a thing to enter our country.
It is time we in this continent realize that having visa restrictions amongst ourselves is working against us.
Pan Africanists welcome this.
It is a movement in the right direction. Whenever we talk about integration, let us not believe or understand it to mean that tomorrow we will integrate. There'll be many things. You need a customs union. You need a monetary union. You need the removal of tariff and non-tariff barriers.
This is one of the more reasons why a mammoth of Africans are soon meeting in Lusaka, the capital of Zambia.
And we are not stopping, we are not resting until all these colonial borders that were created to divide and conquer us have been completely demolished, have been completely erased, and African people can move across their own continent without need for visas, without any restrictions.
But how possible is realizing a united Africa without borders?
A borderless Africa is possible. What we need is the political will, the legal framework, and the institutional framework. But most African nations are still locked up in the pre-colonial status. The colonial masters in Berlin divided the African continent, partitioned it. And it was for their own political and economic interests.
Mukula's assertion is in agreement with that of General Kahinda Otafire. Both say the colonial borders were not and are not necessary.
This is something that we must quickly uproot. It is absolute nonsense. It does not make sense. The colonial masters who colonized Africa are under the European Union, have a borderless movement regime. And then Africa, which was colonized in the post-colonial state, we still continue to maintain this absurdity.
That for Europe to develop, Africa must underdevelop. There is that parasitic relationship.
It is not too late, they say, but lack of common standards of democracy is seen as a stumbling block towards African unity.
Democracy is an imposition to the African continent by the colonial masters. It's a means of governance. Democracy moves with the free market economy. And they have got institutions that regulate this. You'll find that the Europeans still continue to dictate what must be done or what you must have as a measure for you to qualify to be a free democratic country, to be able to have a liberal stance. But I want to tell you one thing. Democracy is a journey that the African continent continues to navigate.
Consolidating this gospel remains top on the agenda of the upcoming engagement in Lusaka.
The one interesting aspect about it is that we're having 2 days of intense conversations, strategizing and whatnot, and then the 25th, which is actually the African Liberation Day, is set aside for a mammoth march in Lusaka to come on the streets and pour out our hearts and demonstrate how much borderless Africa, free movement, one currency, one passport means to us.
Let us all unite and celebrate together.
Borderless Africa is a decentralized, people-owned campaign with an aim of pushing for the free movement of people and goods in Africa. Henry Okrut, UBC.